The text from my mother glowed on my phone screen. If you come to the dinner, wear a dress. Not that black one from your sister's wedding. Something soft. And please, Maya, don't mention your little art project. Liam's fiancée, Sophia, comes from a very cultured family. My jaw tightened. This was normal. My whole life, my family saw me as a problem to be fixed. I was the messy one, the dreamer. I never fit into their perfect world of doctors and lawyers. If you have ever felt invisible in your own home, if you have ever been told you are too much or not enough, then you understand. This story is for you. The rain tapped against my window like it was scolding me. I sat on my old couch, the one with the faint stain from where I'd spilled coffee during a late-night drawing session. My laptop was open, the screen showing a digital painting of a forest at dawn. This was my real work. But to them, it was just my little project. My apartment was small, filled with the smell of old paper and fresh ink. I loved it. Downstairs, Mr. O'Malley ran a tiny print shop that always smelled of warm machinery and determination. We had a quiet deal. I never complained about the printing press humming at 6 a.m., and he never questioned the light on in my window at 3 a.m. when I was finishing a client's project. My mom always said, "In this family, we see things through." I did see things through, just not the things she wanted. I had left law school 2 years ago. I didn't quit because it was hard. I quit because it was killing a part of my soul. My digital art business, Inkwell Echoes, wasn't a fallback plan. It was my lifeline, the thing that kept me breathing when I felt like I was drowning. My 8 p.m. video call was with Mrs. Gable, a sweet, older woman who ran a small bakery. She was trying to launch a website. "This confounded machine, Maya," she sighed, squinting at her screen. "The buttons are too small for these old fingers." I smiled. "We'll make them bigger, Mrs. G. Just like we practiced." Click on the blue icon. After a few clumsy clicks, her bakery's homepage flashed onto her screen. It was filled with pictures of her famous cinnamon rolls. "Oh my goodness," she whispered, her hand flying to her heart. "It's real. It looks so professional." I leaned back, watching her eyes shine. That feeling, the moment someone sees their dream come to life, was everything. It was a quiet magic I held in my hands. After the call, I felt that familiar mix of pride and loneliness. I opened my email out of habit. My heart sank. There it was. An invitation. Liam and Sophia's engagement celebration. The words were formal and cold. "We hope you can attend," it ended. Not "we'd love to have you," just a vague hope. It felt like an obligation. I closed my eyes. Before I could even process it, my phone rang. "Mom." I knew what this was about. I took a deep breath and answered. "Maya," she started, "no hello. About the dinner. Remember what I said. Address. No talk about your drawings. Sophia's parents are patrons of the arts. Real arts." I just said, "I understand, Mom." She hung up, satisfied. She never heard the sadness underneath my words. I looked around my apartment. Canvases leaned against the walls. My tablet glowed with a half-finished book cover for a new author. This was my world. I opened my business dashboard. Inkwell Echoes had over 500 clients. My social media posts for small businesses were getting thousands of views. I had just helped a local pet shelter's fundraiser go viral. I scrolled through my portfolio. A logo for a family-owned farm. Illustrations for a children's book about kindness. Each one was a story, a dream I helped build. Then, a notification popped up. New testimonial received. I clicked on it. My breath caught. The name on the testimonial was Sophia Ricci. Liam's Sophia. The video started. Sophia was sitting in a bright, sunlit room next to an older woman with kind eyes and silver hair. "This is my Aunt Rosa," Sophia said, her voice warm. She wanted to start her own pottery studio but didn't know how to get started. Then we found Inkwell Echoes. The screen showed the beautiful logo and website I had designed for Aunt Rosa's pottery. "Thanks to Maya, my aunt's small dream has a big, beautiful voice online. Her first class sold out in a day." Sophia beamed at the camera. I stared, frozen. She had no idea that Maya was me, the sister of the man she was going to marry. They thought I had failed and given up. I hadn't. I had just stopped begging them to see me. The shared co-working space I sometimes used buzzed with energy. My friend, Chloe, sat across from me, sipping her tea. She looked at the new website layout I was designing on my screen. "This is gorgeous, Maya," she said. "The colors are perfect." Then she put her cup down. "Seriously, why are you so quiet about all this? You're helping real people build real businesses. You should be shouting it from the rooftops." I gave her a small smile. "I'm just doing my thing, Chloe." She shook her head. "You're making a difference, Maya. A real one." The word difference felt heavy. It was a word my family never used for me. To them, I was just making a mess. That night, I sat on my bed, the blue light from my laptop washing over me. I played Sophia's testimonial again. Her voice was so full of gratitude for a stranger. Thanks to Maya. She didn't know that Maya was the same person her future mother-in-law was so ashamed of. The person she'd probably only seen as quiet and awkward at family gatherings. I felt a strange pang in my chest. I connected my printer and printed a single still frame from the video, Sophia and her aunt, smiling in front of Aunt Rosa's new website. I slid it into a plain white envelope. I didn't write a name on it. I just held it, thinking. Then, I tucked it into my bag. Just in case. I walked out of my room and saw my dad in the living room. He had his reading glasses on and was holding one of my old sketchbooks. He was turning the pages slowly, a slight frown on his face. He didn't know I was there. He was just looking, studying the drawings I had done years ago. I didn't say anything. I just watched him for a moment before quietly going back to my room. The next morning, another text from my mom lit up my phone. "Don't be late. And remember, keep the conversation light." Chloe, who was sitting with me, saw my face. Another cheerful morning message? I didn't reply. I was too busy watching the numbers on my dashboard tick up. We had just hit 550 clients. The engagement dinner was at a restaurant called The Gilded Plate. It was exactly what it sounded like. Everything was gold, white, and shiny. The lights were low, and the chairs were uncomfortably elegant. I arrived 10 minutes early. My mom, Helen, saw me and her smile looked tight, like it was painful. "Oh, you're here," she said, her eyes scanning my deep blue dress. "It's a bit simple, but it will do." She guided me to a seat at the far end of the long, glossy table. It was right next to the kitchen door. I could already hear the clattering of plates. I smoothed my napkin on my lap. My bag with the envelope was by my feet. I was ready to be invisible. The room filled with the sound of expensive laughter. Liam's friends from the finance world were there in their crisp suits. Sophia's family arrived, dressed in quiet, elegant clothes that probably cost more than my rent. They all spoke a language of vacations and stock options that I didn't understand. My sister, Amanda, was there, laughing too loudly at a joke. Sophia came in last, looking beautiful in a cream-colored dress. She moved around the room, hugging everyone easily. When she got to me, she gave me a quick, polite hug. "So good to see you, Maya," she said, already looking toward the next person. She had no idea. The first course arrived, and the conversation flowed around me like a river I couldn't cross. I listened as everyone talked. Liam was telling a story about a golf trip. Sophia was talking about wedding plans in Italy. My dad was quiet, nodding along. My mom was the perfect host, making sure everyone was happy. No one looked at me. The salad was passed around the table, but it never quite made it to my end. I felt like a ghost at the feast. I glanced at Sophia. She was so kind, so full of light. I wondered what she would think if she knew the truth. I thought about the envelope in my bag. I wondered if I would have the courage to let the moment find me, or if I would just stay silent, like I always did. The main course was cleared away. Dessert menus were handed out. I wasn't really paying attention, just tracing the pattern on the tablecloth with my finger. Then, Sophia leaned slightly toward me. Her voice was friendly. "So, Maya, Liam says you're doing something creative now? What is it that you do, exactly?" The table got a little quieter. I could feel my mom's stare from the other end. I put my fork down gently. "I run a small digital design studio," I said, my voice calm. "I help people build their brands online." Sophia's eyes lit up with interest. "Oh, that's wonderful. What's it called?" I took a small breath. "It's called Inkwell Echoes." Sophia's face went still. She blinked. Then her hand flew to her mouth. "Wait," she whispered. Her eyes were wide. "You're the Maya? The one who designed the website for my Aunt Rosa?" I simply nodded. The air in the room changed. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. My mom froze, her wine glass hovering in the air. Sophia stood up, her chair scraping softly against the floor. "That was you," she said, her voice getting stronger. "You gave my aunt her confidence back. She was so scared to start, and you made her look so professional. You're the reason her business took off." She was looking at me like she was seeing me for the very first time. "You can live your whole life in the shadows. Then, one sentence can turn on a bright light." The silence in the room was heavy and deep. Sophia was still standing, her gaze fixed on me. "Aunt Rosa said a young woman named Maya was a genius. I never imagined it was you." My mom finally found her voice. It was sharp. "Maya does some freelance graphic design, Sophia. It's a hobby. Let's not make a scene." But Sophia turned to her, her expression firm but kind. "Helen, with all respect, it's not a hobby. Inkwell Echoes is a recognized business. I read about it in a digital arts blog last month. She's brilliant." My mom's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Liam looked utterly confused. You did that?" "I saw Aunt Rosa's website. It's incredible. I didn't know it was your work." I looked directly at my brother. "You never asked Liam," I said, my voice quiet but clear. He looked down, a flush creeping up his neck. Sophia picked up her champagne glass. She looked around the table, then directly at me. "To Maya," she announced, her voice strong and sure. "The woman who builds castles out of other people's dreams and never asks for credit." There was a pause that seemed to last forever. Then, slowly, a few people raised their glasses. Amanda, looking shocked, raised hers. A few of Liam's friends followed. I didn't raise my glass. I didn't smile a big, victorious smile. I just sat there, finally seen. It wasn't about winning. It was about the truth finally being too big to hide. My dad was looking at me. Not past me or through me, but at me. His eyes held a new expression, not quite pride, but a deep, surprised respect. The moment passed. People started talking again, but the sound was hushed, different. The spell had been broken. My mom did not lift her glass. She stared at her half-eaten dessert, her face pale. Later, I heard her whisper to my dad, "Why didn't she tell us?" The party ended. I walked out to the parking lot alone. The night air was cool and clean. I got into my car and just sat for a while, watching the rain make patterns on my windshield. I didn't feel happy or angry. I felt calm. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I needed to make myself smaller. I had done nothing but be myself, and tonight, that had been enough. When I got home, I took the envelope out of my bag and placed it on my kitchen counter. I hadn't needed it. The truth had spoken for itself. The silence in my apartment felt different now. It felt like peace. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. "I'm sorry, Maya. I should have asked." That was all. No excuses. I read it and put my phone down. I didn't reply right away. Later that day, an email from my dad popped up. The subject was article. It was a link to a small online piece about local entrepreneurs. He had highlighted a paragraph that mentioned Inkwell Echoes. Below, he had written, "Saw this. Thought you should see it too." Dad, it wasn't a hug or a proud speech, but it was something. It was a start. A few days later, I got an email from Sophia. The subject was a proposal. She wrote, "Maya, I'm on the board of a small foundation that grants funds to female-owned creative businesses. I showed them your portfolio. They were blown away. Would you be open to applying for a grant to expand Inkwell Echoes?" I read the email 3 times. Then I typed a one-word reply, "Yes." It wasn't a excited yes. It was a solid, confident yes. Chloe came over that afternoon, bursting with news. "The pet shelter fundraiser you designed? It reached its goal. They're calling you a marketing whisperer." I smiled. "I just gave them a voice," I said. A week after the dinner, I was standing in a community center, about to give a small talk. The room was full of people who had big dreams and small budgets. I looked at their hopeful faces. "I wasn't supposed to be here tonight," I began. "I was supposed to be someone else. Someone quieter. But I learned that your dream is the most important thing you own. Don't let anyone convince you to put it in a small box." When I finished, the applause was warm and real. Afterward, an older man came up and told me my designs for his friend's food truck had saved their business. I felt a deep sense of rightness. I met Sophia for coffee. She brought a notebook filled with ideas. "The foundation has the funds to help you hire an assistant, maybe get a better studio space," she said, her eyes bright. "You don't have to do this, Sophia," I told her. "I know," she said. "This isn't about family. This is about talent. You have a gift, Maya. I just want to help you share it with more people." We parted not as in-laws, but as partners, as friends. That night, I finally opened the envelope with the printed testimonial. I didn't throw it away. I placed it in a frame and put it on my shelf, right next to a picture of Mrs. Gable holding her first website printout. A package arrived a few days later. It was from my mom. Inside was a small, flat box. I opened it slowly. Inside, on a bed of soft tissue paper, was a beautiful, expensive set of artist's pencils. They were the kind I had coveted as a teenager but could never afford. There was a note in her elegant handwriting. "I saw these and thought of you. I watched Sophia's video again. I finally saw what you were walking toward. I am so sorry I spent so long only seeing what you walked away from. You are braver than all of us. I love you, Mom." I held the pencils and cried quiet, healing tears. They told everyone I had failed. They said I had lost my way. But I hadn't disappeared. I had just gone somewhere they weren't looking. While they worried about what the neighbors thought, I was busy building dreams for people they never noticed. I didn't fight them with shouting. I didn't try to force them to see. I just kept doing my work, quietly and with all my heart. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't need to yell. It just stood there, solid and real, and the room had to change around it. The people who had judged me were left facing the empty space where their old story about me used to be. There is a kind of justice that doesn't need a loud fight. It happens in the quiet after you are finally seen for who you are. It's in the sound of your brother's apology, the thoughtful email from your dad, the partnership from a new friend, and the tears in your mother's note. It's the justice of no longer being a secret. My victory wasn't loud. It was quiet and deep. I had earned something better than applause. I had earned my own respect, and in doing that, I had finally earned theirs. So if you are the quiet one, the dreamer, the one they call a failure, remember this. Keep building your dream. The loudest echo doesn't come from a shout. It comes from the silence you leave behind when you finally succeed. If you've made it this far, you understand. My worth was never defined by my seat at their table, or by their quiet dismissal of my art. I built inkwell echoes, in the silence they mistook for failure. That silence became my greatest strength, my patience, my power. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been made to feel invisible by those who should see you best, then share it. Tell someone who needs to hear it that their quiet resilience isn't weakness. Their boundaries aren't rudeness. Their survival is extraordinary. Your story isn't over. Subscribe for more journeys of turning quiet humiliation into unshakable triumph. The real revolution begins the moment you decide, like I did, to write your own ending. Your worth was always there, just waiting for you to remember it. Have you ever had to prove your worth to a family that underestimated you? Share your story in the comments below.